everybody. Welcome back to the Common Theory, the internet's number one cPDH podcast. That's a competitive Pauper EDH podcast, but also a 60-card Pauper podcast. That's the full title. The internet's number one cPDH podcast, but also a 60-card podcast.
I think we need to make it a little bit longer for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll make it longer next week.
Well, next episode, we got you guys.
Right. We can add more words to that. Fire design, right? Add more words. Guys, how are we doing today? Chris, what's up? What's up in Florida besides the oppressive heat?
Mosquitoes.
Makes sense.
Mosquitoes, bro. Like mosquito. Guys, look at my face. Mosquitoes. They go in my nose. They go in my ears. They're like, dude, I put another shirt on today over my other work shirt to stop them from biting my back. So I had I had 3 shirts on at one point just because I was like, they're just eating me.
You guys don't need like mosquito nets on your beds and stuff, right?
It's not that bad.
Mm-mm. Well, at my job it is because I'm out in Key Largo area, so it's like I'm out in the mangroves
and the Keys, they do put the nets on the beds and stuff. I know because I stayed down there and I have to deal with that.
It's shit's crazy, but they spray out there. They had a plane spray this past week, which was thank God. I mean, it was like it was so bad, dude. I would have to like go outside for like 10 minutes, and then I'd have to run to my truck. And one day I had like bites down my whole like here, and it was just like a line across my face. It was really bad.
When years ago, like 15 or so years ago, I went to Alaska with my family. My parents were running a race out there, and I ran a half marathon. And we celebrating my brother's 21st birthday, so it was a while ago. But we went during the summer. And I didn't realize that the summer in Alaska is like the worst place for mosquitoes in the U.S. Just like and the worst place in North America, straight up. And I didn't really understood what that meant until their second day we got there. We got into the Airbnb, woke up the next morning, and I went outside and I heard, with the soft sounds of rain, right? It was like, shh, I'm like, oh, that's weird, because I looked at my phone and it said that the weather should have been sunny and like a little cloudy, but no rain, right? But I look outside the window and it's raining. It's like black, it's like coming down. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. It says no rain. I hear and see rain, and I go to open the door, and we went with some friends, family friends who had already been to us. They're like, don't open the door. I'm like, what? Why? They're like, that outside, that's not rain. I'm like, what? Like, those are mosquitoes. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? It was sheets of black. I was like, that's absurd. That is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And then when you go out, you have to literally cover up your whole body, face, nothing showing, gloves, everything. And it's like summer in Alaska is actually really hot. So you're sweating like crazy. You're going outside and you have to be fully covered because any exposed like sliver of skin, they just descend and they like start ripping apart your skin, and they like, dude, it's nuts. I had never seen anything like it. They even they'll kill cows and moose. They'll just be desiccated corpses because they'll descend on them and just like suck all their blood out.
That's crazy. Yeah, the thing that we have here right now too, because I'm out in the Everglade area, is like a lot of mangroves and stuff. Is we have a insect called a no-see-um. I don't know if that rings a bell.
We complain about them every day.
We get those in like upstate New York and Maine and like the upper Northeast. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they are horrible because like I have to wear long sleeve shirts a lot of the times because they're on you and you just have to be like peeling them off of you, and they hurt. So, but excluding that, everything's been good. Hurt my forearm today working out again, but it comes with the territory. It's gonna. Yeah, that's pretty much is what it is. But with that said, let's move over to Franklin. How you been, Franklin?
Yeah, pretty good. Last weekend was our buddy. I went to a convention with our buddy China. Sold a whole bunch of cards. I ended up selling like my etched foil Timna because someone asked for it. was like, oh, China doesn't
Nice.
have it. I have it in my binder. I'll just go sell it to you.
How what is that? Is that going? What is that, like $50 now?
I sold it for 50 cash, but it's going for like 60 now.
What?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Crazy, bro.
What the heck, man? I remember getting the foil Timna for like $12.
Yeah, I bought mine for 20.
Dude.
I have a
Crazy.
guys. Anyone would like to purchase a Timna? I have one right here.
Yeah, so that's an economics lesson for everyone. Just buy stuff and hold on to it forever. Eventually go up in
I'm
value.
magic cards that you don't need. Literally preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Everyone out here is doing that. Like probably right now, they're probably listening to us and they're on TCG Player. They're like,
Well, they shouldn't be on TCG Player because fucking union busting. So
that's
fuck
true.
them.
Don't.
So
Yeah.
support your local LGS or Card Kingdom.
Fair. Card Kingdom, a well unionized store.
Yeah, and to give like really good prices on buy lists. So use that all the time.
Yep. There you go. Was the convention you went to like a magic thing?
No. It was like a regular anime, comic book, sci-fi, everything convention.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because like down
Yeah.
here in South Florida, we only really have like the generic conventions. Really, it's just like
You know, there's no SCG.
not
in
this far
Florida?
down. They usually stay like Tampa.
Yeah, Tampa, Orlando-ish area, which is about
Yeah.
4 hours from us.
Yeah, because Miami is usually Miami, Fort Lauderdale always gets super expensive for like a convention,
That makes sense.
and like travel
And-
down here is like prohibitively more expensive too, because like you have to pay
Yeah,
the extra
awesome,
tax
so-
of like you have to fly into MIA or Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale is cheaper to fly into.
Yeah.
MIA is just like so expensive.
Absurd.
It's New York's the same way, right? There's like no big magic cons in New York City ever. It's not possible. It's too expensive,
Yeah.
and it's prohibitively expensive for people to get to, and also like hotels are stupidly expensive per night. So
Yeah.
it makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Ron, how
That's
have
a
you
bummer
been?
though, because I'd like to come down for Magic Con. Yes.
Again, we're going to Atlanta. I still need to figure out my hotel situation, and then I still need to figure out which one of my friends am I driving up, because it's between like Gator and like two of my other friends who want to hop in my car. I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I have to rent like a bus at this point.
What are you talking about, dude? I'm pocket size. I'll sit on somebody's lap, dude. I just steer the steering wheel for you.
You know, renting a van is actually not that expensive. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, it's actually not that bad.
It's
Yeah,
not
like I
bad.
said, that's probably like what we're gonna end up doing, just like renting a van, and like when we're out in
Yeah.
Atlanta, they'll end up being like the fucking party van.
Yeah. It's like whenever my band's been on tour, we just rent the van. It doesn't end up being too horrible.
Oh, you know what, Gator? We can use a van to cosplay as like one of our favorite sites that are down in Miami Beach.
What?
Don't worry about it. So, Ron, how's your week been?
It's good. Hanging out with it will have already been Father's Day, but I will be hanging out with my dad for Father's Day this weekend. We're gonna go see the Beach Boys.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Like,
No,
for
actually,
real?
the Beach
Like-
Boys.
like
No,
for
what are you
real?
talking about?
Because didn't the
That
guy just
sounds
die?
cool. Yeah, but he wasn't. Brian Wilson. He hasn't been playing with them for a long time.
Oh, okay.
He had a lot of mental health issues and stuff. Not doing so well, but it is really sad. So it is kind of a special show because it's like a bit of a. I'm sure it'll be a tribute to Brian, who is like a genius, right? He's like one of the best American songwriters and most talented American songwriters of all time. And yeah, that album Pet Sounds, fucking incredible, amazing record. Yeah, so that'll be sweet. They're also this is the funniest part actually. They're playing with Uncle Jesse from Full House.
Oh,
John Stamos.
yeah, because they made a song together for Full House. And then I remember like one of the songs in like one of their follow-up albums after Kokomo was like the dude was John Stamos. I was like, the fuck?
Yeah. So because the band was like on Full House like a bunch of times, and they became friends and stuff. So
That's crazy. That's
it's
awesome.
super random, but should be fun. I'm actually stoked for it.
Wait. Your significant other is not going with you because, from my knowledge, every woman's dream, if they're in their 30s, was John Stamos.
Of
So
course, she's going with me.
no.
the one who brought it. She's like, so. She's like, I thought of a great idea for your dad. You know, I'm like, that is a great idea. That's awesome. And Brian Wilson just died. Like, that's that's perfect. She's like, yeah, and John Stamos. I was like, what house guy? What? He's like, yes, John Stamos. I'm like, oh my god. And it's funny because like, yeah, exactly. I was at work, the past 2 days, and I work with a bunch of other 30 to 40-year-olds, like all people our age, and I mentioned it, mostly women, and I mentioned it. They're like, like, I had the biggest crush on him. I'm like, apparently every woman over
every 30 to 40, like I'd say like 34 to 44 ish. It's their guy.
Uncle Jesse is a catch. The guy is a handsome dude. Yeah. And I mean, apparently he could do it. Apparently he's really smart, and he's like a Broadway like singer and guitar player, and he can sing and dance and do all this shit. And he still looks great. He works out every day. I mean, like, good for him. Yeah. Good for John Stamos.
But with that, let's jump into the episode. Franklin, so you actually wanted to touch on this because, well. So let me just do a quick little intro here for you guys. We're going to give you guys two different little topics because I think it's really relevant for the time frame. And it was actually kind of like our thought process to bring this in and discuss it because it's just kind of Magic as a whole. And I think it'd be good for us to just touch on it. But with that said, we're also all cEDH players as well. So this has touched home for us in several different areas. The 11-hour game. I mean, you name it. Every podcast has spoken about this shenanigans in the cEDH world, right? Literally 11 hours. And during that game, there is a lot of player bullying. During that game, in fact, they won't post the game because it can't be posted. For a lot of reasons. Logistically, yes, I get it. It's 11 hours, so on and so forth, blah, 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 blah. But you could dice it, you could slice it, you could do a bunch of things, right? Mm-hmm. But then, that same weekend, there was player bullying in another event. Then, the next weekend, we had a player, which is exactly what they're discussing, incremental mistakes. Lots of them, though. And it's not lots of them one time. It's lots of them over a span of a year, right? 2 years, 3 years. So we're really we're going to give our thoughts to you guys about this entire dynamic because this seems absurd. And also, as of recently in cPDH world, there's a few online events, and in one of those events, we had a cheater as well. So it's just makes sense to talk about it, especially since it's kind of like the talk of the town. I mean, casual podcasts are making fun of cEDH. They don't even play the format. They're just like MTG Goldfish just is memeing all over cEDH right now.
I mean, you can't blame them though, right? Like,
no, you can't blame them.
It's beyond the pale. I mean, yeah, and I get that the 11-hour game is an extreme, right? But I mean, even the last cEDH tournament that I played in, a few months ago. The games are arduous, they are tournament cEDH is significantly less fun in my purely anecdotal experience than playing with like anywhere else for no stakes, right? Or even for low stakes, like low stakes local tournaments. Awesome, super fun, super dope time. But once you go to quote unquote TEDH, the dynamic changes, and it's because like it's a number of things, but I mean, you can summarize it by saying that the way the tournaments are set up, the way points are set up, the way, table placement set up, the way the game rules are set, it encourages this kind of behavior, right? This like obfuscation through other means of not really playing Magic.
Let's actually take this point by point, so we don't kind of step on everything. How do you guys feel about talking about the bullying first? Can we dive into that? So I'll just start it off with a lot of the ways that the bullying aspect is happening is through distraction bullying. I know this sounds absurd, right? But essentially, what happened in one of those events was the player. So we have player A, B, C, and D, right? So player one is A, so on and so forth, right? Player A was trying to win. And throughout all of players A's turn, they had visible win in play. They didn't know how to do it, so they're attempting to go through the pattern of doing it, right? They couldn't figure it out. But the reason they couldn't figure it out, and this was a huge, huge thing that happened on this event, was that player B continued to go, what are you going to do with that? I think I'm going to respond to what you're doing. Hey, player D, do you have any cards in your hand? How many cards are in your hand? And so essentially what player B was doing was continuing to interrupt, continuing to distract, continuing to create conversations, which are all legal game actions that you can actually do this. Is like, this is part of the game. And just kept doing it though, and doing it and be like, well, I have the ability to respond. I can do this. I tapped mana, so now priority is changing. Now we do this, now we do that. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I personally hate that because you only have so much mental energy to put in. And if you have someone just constantly doing literal psych damage to the table, how do you realistically like defend against that? You're too busy focusing on trying to win. And you have some guy telling everyone like, no, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this.
It's tough, right? I agree with Franklin, and that's annoying. And it's like, even though it's again, I feel like it's like quote unquote against the spirit of the game. But with that said, it's within the rules. And like at the end of the day, the spirit of cEDH is you play to win. You're there to win. You do what's within the rules to win. And if it's within the rules, and it creates an advantage for you without cheating, like if you're obviously there's a separate thing if you're using that to obfuscate shit to like do illegal things, that's obviously beyond the pale. That's a different issue. But just doing it to like wear people down, to like get people to basically give up, right? But effectively, I've been in this situation. I was in a tournament, and it was a going in, and there were, it was a very complex game state, right? I was like turn 5 or 6, right? There was lots of stuff out. There were multiple Hullbreaker Horrors out and Hullbreaker Horde triggers.
Oh my god, that
and like
sounds
the
annoying.
Hullbreaker Horde triggers were triggering other triggers, right? And so we had a stack that was probably, we started using cards to denote the stack, but it becomes so arduous to like write down, all right, like with like on like the dry erase cards, like, all right, whose stack piece is this? What is it? Let's represent it. We got to write it. And it was like 57 cards deep on the stack, right? And this was like, I don't know, I want to say like 50 minutes of just this one stack, and that for me was already, I was like, god damn, like this sucks. Everything about this sucks. Like if this was a casual game at home, I'd been like, you got it, guys. You got it. I don't care anymore, right? I'm done with this. But it was my copy of their Hullbreaker Horror. It's like, I'm like, this is like, but like, I want to win because it's a winning in, right? I'm like, I want to make top 16 here. I've been here since 10 a.m. and it's 8 p.m., right? Like, I'm in this. And it sucked. And like, the other player, I think was the louder voice. And they kept insisting that at the end of this ridiculous stack that their thing comes out on top because of X, Y, and Z. And lesson learned, I should have called the judge to just go through this, but we would have been there for another hour or plus, right? And at that point, I actually did get worn down. And I just said, you got it. It's 8 o'clock. Yeah. I've been here since 10 a.m. And like, if this is how the finals, if like there's still top 16 that needs to be played, I'll be here till 2 a.m. I'm done, guys. I can't do this.
Yeah.
But like, that sucks, right? Like you're in this tournament to win. And the whole idea of cEDH is you're there to win. You're playing the best, deck possible with the best cards possible. You're playing the best plays that you can make. And at the end of the day, like that's how you're out by just like someone's just like yelling at you, and you're just like, I don't want to deal with this anymore.
I agree with both your guys' takes, honestly. Like I don't like it. I will say I do it sometimes. But the reason I do it is because other players do it, and it's so I'm the I don't want to say worst kind, but it kind of is kind of like the worst kind. So, or best kind, like it depends who you ask, right? But I'm the player at the table that's going to be like, if no one's talking, I'm not talking either. And I'm playing the game, really enjoying myself. Someone makes a joke, I'll also make a joke. I'm very like match people's energy.
Oh yeah, that. Yeah, that's
I love that.
Yeah.
But if I have the player that's like going to boldface lie at the table about just the most ridiculous things, then I'm doing it too. Like, because you're going to bring a shotgun to a knife fight. Well, then I have to pull out a bazooka, right? Then you pull out a cannon. Okay, I'm getting a battleship. Like, we're just going to keep going back and forth. So I have to match your energy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah, I mean,
like doing that. Truth be told, I actually hate it.
No,
I don't
it's so
like that.
tiring to do too.
It is.
yeah, in my local scene, we have some very, very, very talented players, and we do have players who obviously win more than others, and they'll be playing different decks, and it's because of their style. And I'm not trying to hate on anyone who's trying to play, this way to really force their influence on the table. I mean, that's how you win. That's how you win cEDH specifically. And if you want to play with different decks and you want to win repeatedly, you have to influence the table. You have to talk. You have to do those things, and you'll win more than people who don't. That's just a fact, right? And I'm not gonna judge someone who's gonna play like that, because I know that's how you have to play to win. And I do too when I have to. I'm gonna be less pushy probably. My style's a little different than some of my friends out here. But some of my friends are super pushy, and that's just how they play. And I think if you're not ready for that, it can feel really, really off-putting. If you're not going into the tournament like knowing that that's how people are going to play, you can be like, "Oh my god, these people are all assholes." It's just how you have to play, though. It's tough. It's a really tough situation.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't really know what the right answer is.
Let's move on to the next subject. I think we gave good thoughts on that one, and there's going to be a bunch of these examples we bring up, you guys. But let's bring up the next thing that happened. So this was another separate event, and I'd like to discuss this one because this brings it kind of closer to home through cEDH with the cheater that we recently had. But there was a known cheater. I'm only going to bring his name up because it's like everyone knows his name. It's Temujin. So essentially what happened, he has been banned from some online events, but then he went in person to an event, and they allowed him to play. And to the best of my knowledge, this was for a Black Lotus, and he won, which is, I don't know where, like, so I'm going to be the old boomer here. Back when you used to cheat in Magic, like back in my day, you got banned and you couldn't play Magic anymore. Like, you were done. Like,
no, what are you talking about? They bring cheaters back all the time.
I know.
The Wizards ban list was famous, man.
You're
basically on a board, basically at Wizards headquarters. Like, these guys never played again.
Yeah,
and then they come back 10 years later, cheat again, get banned again.
No, not a Wizard.
No,
they did with that Alex Barcelli guy.
Look, he was sure it's a freaking one of. Like,
it's true. They let that slide, but they messed up.
Yeah, that was just a mess up. But
they messed up on the registration. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, maybe he's a really nice person. I don't know any of the logistics about the individual, and I'm not trying to like talk negatively about him. Right? Like, it's a factor I'm discussing.
He probably is a really nice person. I feel like people who cheat and get away with it often tend to come across as like really nice people because they understand how to manipulate people.
Yeah.
And if they were assholes all the time, people would try and call them out more.
Yep, that's true. I resemble that remark.
Yeah.
But realistically, so what are your guys' thoughts on that? Personally, me, if an individual like that showed up in my event and I was hosting one and they were like, I know they've cheated in other events. No, you're not playing. So it was absurd when I heard this, and I was just like, and then he won like a Black Lotus, right? Like, at every single thing you could win, this is the event, and then this is the card that's won. It's like, bro.
That's just crazy.
So
yeah, I don't think for cEDH or like that there's really much of like a good governance body for that to just say, okay, they're
There isn't
banned
one.
here.
That's the problem, right?
Yeah, because like if you get
it's-
banned in like a chaos tournament, chaos is not going to talk to like the Lotus Con people or Top Deck or like any of the locals.
Yeah.
I mean, I think as the TO, it really comes down to like, all right, how much do you respect the other tournaments and those organizers who did like find this person cheating and ban them? Like, do you respect them? If you do respect them, then it's, you know, you can, your statement can be like, well, out of respect for these other tournaments, these TOs who are like, who I really, you know, I admire and want to model after, I will not let this person play in this tournament. Like, that's the statement. But like you said, if it's like some tournament where it's like totally messed up, it's a horrible tournament. Like the TOs are just like nuts when someone cheated and they ban someone, and you're just like, look, I don't respect you. I don't respect how you run your tournaments. I'm gonna let this person play because like you guys are nuts.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
So yeah, with touching upon cPDH, you know, the cheater that was there in the event over the past weekend was like deliberately cheating. Like they had too many cards in their hand throughout the entire time, and you know they're just gripping extra cards, which is very easy to catch, right? It's the easy, like once again, my boomer talking, right? Back in my day, we used to know our opponents, like we learned to do the math and be like, okay, so what turn is it? We know what turn it'd be like turn 7. We go, how many cards in your hand? They go 5, and you would just go on your notepad and you'd go, oh, well, you had 7 in your opener. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're supposed to have, you know, 1 card in hand. Why do you have 4? Like, no, judge, and boom, you're gone, right? And that was, we like kept it on our notepads, right? But
yeah.
That's not normal now.
Yeah, and I think if you go see like, you know, like Pro Tour players, they still do that, right?
Yeah.
They just use like e-pads or whatever now, but they still keep track of the cards and how many cards they've drawn and all that.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean, that
that's
was
why
just
like playing
what
on
we
webcam,
did though. Like it was normal. Like that was normalized for us.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I still do it and in paper.
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say. Like on webcam, that's why I personally kind of hate having to like mark down exactly how many cards that I have in hand for people.
Yeah, I will say that becomes very difficult though in a 4-player game.
Oh.
So in a
it
1v1,
it does.
I still do it, but I do not do it in like in a cEDH game. Hell no. Even in cPDH, you know, it's all like if you're playing a strong deck, you're doing there's a lot of card manipulation. You're drawing a lot of cards, you're discarding, like there's tons of stuff happening, and then keeping track for 3 players. That's just like your mental stack is just so demolished by just doing that. You're probably going to misplay. So is it worth it? Why not?
Well, let's move on to our very last topic of this cheating fiasco and bullying fiasco that we've had. This one I think is the most important to talk about. I know Franklin is very adamant about this one, that he jumped the gun earlier and just started talking about it. So let's actually delve into it now here fully. And Rohan already alluded to what it is. And essentially what this was another very top-end player. In fact, this has been said now in cEDH that this is a lot of the top players actually do this. And I'm not going to say any of their names because, but essentially what it is that these players gain value. So what they do is they do incremental mistakes. So they're taking like a very like not normal play. Like you would just like play a land of some sort that has like dual functions, and you would put it into play. Then you would tap all your lands, and you would say, I have 6 mana floating. And then you go, you know what? I don't want to do that. I haven't taken any game actions. I'd like to put this land back in my hand. So you put the land back in your hand, but now you go, okay, with the 6 mana I have floating, I'd like to cast this card. Now, the whole table has recognized that you had 6 mana floating, so when you say you have 6 mana floating, it doesn't seem like a big deal. Even anyone could truly make that mistake. Like, that is a very easy mistake to make. I'm sure all of us here have done it, right? But the problem is that this is normal for these players. So you would assume, right, the easiest statement on planet Earth, if a player is winning, actively wins events a lot, or tops a lot, you would automatically assume that these players know how to resolve triggers, know how combat works, know how to take certain game actions, know how to go through priority, and know how to, biggest problem, read the freaking cards, right? Like, but they don't. And that's where this is becoming a problem, because now it's getting recognized that these players do this in every game now. So, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, Ron, I'll let you go first, and then I have like an entire
Yeah.
little monologue about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, see what I was saying before, right? If it's intention, right? Well, there's a couple things. One, first of all, if mistakes are made at the table, for better or worse, the entire table is responsible for catching those mistakes of the player making mistakes. To the point, right? In Comprel, if your opponent misses your mistake, they can also be given a warning for that. Actually, depending on the kind of mistake that's made. But yeah, if it affects, especially if it affects both players, then most likely both players, in let's say 1v1 game, I make a mistake and my opponent does something and affects their board state, affects my board state's been affected based on my mistake. We go back, judge comes, we'll both get warnings because neither of us caught the mistake, or we caught it way too late, and then we've progressed the game beyond having caught the mistake. We'll both get warnings, and then I might get something else, right? So it does behoove the entire table to keep track of this kind of stuff. So that's point number one.
Let me ask you a quick question, because I think this is the easiest example to give to everybody here. And this is I kind of want to get your thoughts too on how you rectify something like this, because this is specifically one of the main things that happens, which is very similar you could do in cEDH. That's why this is relevant. So what happens is the player has the One Ring. Now, I think everyone knows what the One Ring is. That's why this is a good example. The player has 2 counters on the One Ring. What essentially they do is they tap the One Ring, add the counter. They go attempt to draw 3 cards. Players start to pass priority. Then they interrupt that player. They go, hang on, I don't want to do this. I changed my mind. They untap the One Ring, but leave the 3 counters on it. Then they take another game action. Then they tap the One Ring again, putting a 4th counter on it now, and they go, draw my 4 cards. No one thinks about it. No one sees it. They go, hey, you have 1 too many counters. Because someone noticed that he had put a dice, but in reality, they put 2 counters on it.
Yeah.
But no one sees that. And that, honestly, once again, that seems like a very innocent mistake. But this is becoming a pattern. So I really want to get your thoughts on what you think about something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's obviously problematic, but I mean, it's like, once again, it's like, it is up to the players to be really vigilant about these things, and when people are playing fast. So, like, let me back up. Obviously, there's the elephant in the room is they're either doing this knowingly or they are actually making mistakes because they're careless, right? If there's a pattern established of this person doing this and everyone knows about it, obviously you need to either, one, you ban them, call them a cheater, or 2, you play extremely cautiously with them. And that kind of brings me to my main point, which is either way, if you're playing, when you're playing and people this kind of stuff will probably happen, whether it's intentional or not. And it is up to the players to really make sure that people are slowing down and really clearly communicating their actions and triggers and all that shit, so that the table can really agree that this is actually this is the state, this is what's happening, and then you move on. I mean, playing really fast and letting people play really fast, I think, is a mistake that a lot of players make, especially and honestly, especially in franchise players who are like tournament grinders and stuff, like it's like we all pride ourselves on playing fast, right? It's like, especially if you come from 1v1, you're like, all right, yeah, I can play so damn fast, right? Like I'll never get a time in my tournaments.
Yep, that's
And yeah, and I think that's yeah, right. Dude. I play control decks, right? So like I'm always trying to be like, all right, I'm getting my triggers on. Come on, let's go. But the issues that in the quest of playing quickly, no one calls the judge and says, hey, can we slow this game down, because I feel like these triggers are happening too fast, things aren't really being communicated. Can you watch our game for like a few minutes and just make sure that these things are being taken care of? You can and should do that, and I never see anybody doing that. I never do. I never ever do. I've seen it once in all my tournaments that I've ever played in, and that's a lot of tournaments, that someone actually called someone over, and it was in a cEDH tournament. It was last year, and then called the judge and be like, hey, can we just watch these triggers? I feel like the play is moving a little bit too fast for my comfort level. I think it was a really good way that this player actually communicated that to the judge too. It was great, and it worked out really well, because now I felt the same way, and I was part of the problem. I was a little too timid and too scared, and honestly, like, you're 6 rounds in, I'm just over it, right? I'm like, I don't want to call the judge. Just get this shit on. Let's keep this show going, right? But
Keep the ball
they made the
rolling.
right decision.
Yeah. Well, then, I really like what you said there. Makes a lot of sense, honestly. But let's move over to Franklin, because I know Franklin, I think, is the most adamant about this. And I will give Franklin credit where credit is due. I'm actually not very good at paying attention to the incremental mistakes. Depressingly, typically when that happens, I just think people are dumbass.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the problem, because like I want to naturally assume that too, but unfortunately, I also like to assume that people are smarter. Was it either as smart as I am or smarter than me?
Well, I assumed that at first,
Yeah.
but then you like can't play a land to save your life.
It just
And
happens.
I'm just like, they just don't get it. I guess it is what it is.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah, but then sometimes, like, let me give an example. So someone plays a creature with an ETB trigger, right? Like, let's say technically not Ab. Well, let's go with Abdel's leave.
Abdel's an
yeah,
ETB
yeah.
trigger.
Let's go with Abdel's leave trick. It's technically it's ETB, but when it leaves, and when everything comes back out, everything that comes back in has a brand new ETB.
Sure.
And I'm going to use myself as an example, because I used to mess this up all the time when I was playing Abdel at first. You have to order and announce every single trigger that happens when Abdel comes back. Well, leaves, right? And then there's a new Abdel ETB on top of that. So technically you can order all of the new ETBs plus the Abdel ETB.
Right. You have to, but yes.
Yeah. So imagine if there's a player who conveniently forgets one of the ETBs of, like, let's say a Mana Rock that says ETB draw card. But because it's a trigger that is mandatory, they'll bring it up like a turn or two later, after, let's say, someone has a discard spell.
I mean, well, okay, so that is an example that I see a lot.
I actually see that quite a bit.
I see that all the time. The I missed a card. Can I draw it? I mean, I feel like that one is the most likely one to get a judge called on, and I see a judge get called on that all the time. And then it's like up to the table to put that on the stack or not, right? You vote, and it never does.
Yeah, depending on the judge, but that's what it should be. Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
but
it should be a table vote, but
that happens a lot. Like if a player consistently did that, but just so I think what's actually interesting about Franklin's example there is that he did say after a hand destruction. So what I'm assuming there, Franklin,
Okay, that is different. That is great.
Yeah,
That's bad.
right.
yeah, you're
That,
storing
I
your
think-
you're storing your ETB trigger.
That changes the scenario quite a bit, I think. But so
the one thing about this situation that I think actually ties back into our first section about the bullying, I have seen this too, not in games that I've played, because I would definitely voice my opinion, but I've seen players who will will be like, hey guys, I missed this ETB trigger, like someone had already, let's say someone had already played their turn, and then it's still the same turn cycle, but it, you know, 2 players have gone past, right?
Mhm.
Two draw steps have gone past. Like, oh guys, I missed this on this Mana Rock ETB. I should have drawn a card. Shouldn't change anything. It's cool if I just draw it, and they kind of soft bully the table into just, you know, they're like it's cool, right? I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah, no. That's not cool at all.
And
So
most Magic play, I feel like most Magic players are pretty timid.
they actually say yes. I've seen that quite a
Oh my
bit.
god.
Exactly.
Here's
It's cool, bro.
so I'm gonna add more to the scenario. Hopefully you guys can follow what we're doing here. This is actually kind of fun for me right now, not gonna lie. But the other scenario I've seen exactly what you just described, Ron, is so I've had it to where a player has the ability to win on their turn. So it's now the player's turn to win, and that's when one of those other players, like you said, let's say it's player D and player A is the one that forgot the trigger. So they're last in turn order, and they have the ability to win. And this is what I've seen now. This is going to be a little difficult to follow, but just follow
I
me.
see what's happening here. Yeah.
Player D knows the table doesn't have interaction because all players have been passing on it, and they're all like, we don't have anything. So they're going for a win attempt. But then that player A goes, oh, hey, I forgot this draw. Can I draw it? And they do the force bully thing, like you said, where they're like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. They get their draw, and the draw is an interaction spell. So then that player D goes for a win, knowing the table had nothing to stop him. And he was like, I'm not worried about this. I'm going for it. And then magically now that player has interaction. And you're like, bro, like,
Dude,
what?
I've actually seen this happen. I've seen this happen, and it was like 2 years ago, and it was a learning experience for me because at the time I'm not the one who missed the trigger, and I was not the person going for the win. But you know, this exact situation happened. Someone drew into a snuff out, right, which is something that will stop the win. This was a cPH game, and they the table was like, oh, you know, the guy who was going for a win was like, hey, no, that's not cool. And then the other player, you know, not me, the other guy who was also not drawing the card was like, yeah, but it goes to a vote. So like we would just outvote you, and they get the trigger to put the trigger on the stack. And I thought that's how it worked. That's not how it works. For those of you out there, that's not the entire table. Any one player who vetoes, it's out.
Yeah. It has to be a unanimous vote.
So it has to be unanimous. Yeah. So, yeah, it has to be unanimous. You know, excluding the player whose trigger who's missed. Obviously, they don't get to vote their own.
They would obviously vote for themselves.
But in that situation, I was like, oh, damn, yeah, okay, this person's outvoted 2-1. I guess he gets stuffed. I suppose. I guess that's how it works. And I was wrong. Yeah, that's not how it works. And they got bullied, and that person lost that game. Yeah.
Yep. So it's interesting because I've seen that too in a real world event. I had a cEDH event where that happened to me at. I was not the one that got bullied at all. I was just one of the players at the game.
One of the bystanders.
Yeah. But it was just like the similar. I was like, nah, dude, like you missed that shit. Like, no. And then I was the one that called the judge over, and
that's good.
But it was wonky because the judge was like, whatever you guys want. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
No,
whatever I want.
I have seen that I've seen that so much more in the past year, especially with like, I mean, the fact that there's like no judge college, right? There's like judging is like so whack right now too. So it's actually really tough. It's tough out there because you know, unless you have like established judges, which I don't really see that often for commander events. I see that in Comprel 60 card events and stuff, right? Established judges who know their shit. But, you know, I feel like commander games, a lot of times you're going to get like the C squad judge.
No,
right?
I've seen events get like Z-listers.
Z-listers?
Yeah, like people who's like, bro, I've seen people who's like their license is about to expire and they're like, hey, can I get a job?
Or just like card shop staff, right? Like, I'm the judge today. All right, I guess. I mean, but it's like if you want to play in a cEDH event, or a cPDH event or whatever, these commander events in person, it's like, the question's like, would you rather the event not exist because they can't get like a super legit judge, or would you rather just the store, people pony up and just become the judges for the day and use their phones and Google the rules? I mean, probably the latter, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
we had a local would like
You'd rather
to do
just
the
play.
phone thing, which works most of the time. But
You'd rather just play. But that's the downside of it, is like,
yeah,
even
it's
the
just a
judges
shame when you
sometimes
know.
not knowing the rules.
Yeah, it's just a shame when you know the rules and you have to argue against an MTG Salvation forum post from like 10 years ago.
Yeah, arguing against the judge is also not always in your best interest.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then, what else do you have first, Franklin? Let's finish this out strong. What
because like another example that we could always bring up is like whenever people like miscalculate their mana cost for certain spells, so they'll conveniently have mana open for interaction.
So I was gonna say, I think that's actually what I was gonna say. So that's where I think it's problematic, is that, like, I have done it. In fact, me and Franklin have both done this before. Where we cast the wrong. Like, I'm thinking of one card in my brain, and I'll play a card. So, for instance, Arcane Signet. All right, I'll play an Arcane Signet, right? But for some reason, I think it's Springleaf Drum or some stupid shit, right? And so I'll just do the wrong amount of mana, and it won't match. But then you're like, and I have open mana where I'm supposed to be tapped out for some reason, right? And nothing happens though. It doesn't change the game state, doesn't do anything. I don't cast anything. But where it becomes problematic is what Franklin said. What if a turn later, or turn 2 later, I keep that 1 mana open all the turn cycles? And the reason that 1 mana was open is I had a Pyroblast, or I had a Lightning Bolt, or I had a Dispel, right? So I had a 1 mana interaction spell that I was making sure always was available every single turn cycle.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it becomes a problem. But you don't know that unless you're able to see their hand, right? Like, it's kind of dicey. But where do you guys' thoughts? What do you think?
Yeah, that one is unfortunately a lot harder to catch, and you have to like really monitor certain people like over time. And again, that's how these people end up cheating, because it's small little incremental things that at the moment you don't even really notice. But then when you look back at the entire macro image, you're just like, holy shit, look at all these small little instances of that person doing this exact pattern.
So let's bring it home. So this one, I know, Franklin, you have stuff to say about this. So, and we didn't talk to you about this, Rohan, but I'm very excited to hear what you have to say about this one.
Okay.
Where this is so relevant and related to cPDH is that our format is not as consistent as cEDH. So if you have a player that always has like the perfect card, so let's just use, our favorite joke that we love on this podcast, the Ashnod's Altar problem, right? If you have a player that has Ashnod's Altar every fucking game, there's like 2 decks in the format that could do that shit. They don't get it. They don't have it. The joke is,
an Ashnod's deck that can't fight Ashnod's.
Yeah, like, it's just not fucking happening. But they always have it. They're fucking cheating, plain and simple. They are cheating. There's no way around it. They're cheating because our format doesn't have that consistency. And one reason we, the three of us, the Common Theory as a whole, put our decks on the tier list, and the reason we feel this way about these decks is because they are the consistent decks of this format, right? The Weavers and the Malcolms, these decks are very consistent. But then let's say you get like these mono red piles, right? Or mono black piles. And I want to pick up well, not blue, I guess.
No, blue is way too consistent.
Yeah, blue's more consistent. But let's say mono white, mono black, right? You have these two just generic colors that have no means of tutoring for shit. And don't use brain spoil and shred memory against me, guys. That shit don't count. And if this player always has, in any of these situations, always has the relic of Progenitus, always has, every card that they need for that situation. The darkness is my favorite example. You can't fucking find darkness in your mono black deck ever. But you play against somebody and they always fucking fog you in like the perfect situation every single time. You're like, bro, how the fuck you always get darkness, dude? There's one fog in mono black, but yet you always have it. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, crazy.
Or what's crazy to see is like when they win with the same exact combo every single game, and you're just like,
yeah, you guys are talking about online specifically, right? Because like that's really hard to pull off in paper.
Yes.
You're like a wizard.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be like,
you have to be like an actual fucking
you have to
magician.
be like David. You're doing some David Blaine shit, right? You're like,
come dressed up as Jace. Whoosh.
Yeah, you're always got, like, this guy's always wearing really long sleeves. He's always wearing these pirate shirts.
Who tells me that I have coins behind my ear?
Well, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Let's end strong, because I think that's what a lot of players don't know about this format is the inconsistencies that we do have, which what makes it so focused on being a good player, right? Like, because a lot of decks just aren't that consistent. Like, it just is what it is because of the way the format is like how it exists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I have pretty strong feelings on this one, and that is, if you're playing on online tournaments, expect this shit. Because it's gonna happen.
Oh my God.
And people who want to do this will always be one step ahead of you. It doesn't matter how many like people like how many times the TO asks for people to submit their like screenshots or whatever of their play mats or whatever, all that crap. Doesn't even if it's even if it's webcam, if they're playing with OBS, there's a billion videos on YouTube. Just you can go see about how you can obfuscate your deck. You can like take a screenshot of like a photo of your deck from the top down. You can put it in OBS. It makes it actually really hard to see. You can like start messing with your deck for free, and they can't see it. You know, especially if your hand's coming from the side. There's a ton of ways, right, to obfuscate using OBS, and that's just gonna happen if you're playing online. Just accept that it's gonna probably happen. Like if you accept that, first step. Second step, record your games if you're going to be playing in online tournaments. Just record them. Maybe you'll catch something. If you do suspect a player of having like the same card repeatedly or cheating or whatever, just go back and like that's on you now to go back and painstakingly watch this footage. If you want to waste hours of your life doing that, by all means, I commend you. I'm not going to do it. I'm also not really going to be playing on online tournaments in general, like webcam or not. I'm probably not, unless it's like, you know, friends. It's like super low, like no stakes, and we're just playing for kicks, and I'm just playing with my buds, and that I'll play. But like other than that, if there's any stakes involved or something, I'm not playing online tournaments. That's it.
Very fair.
Yeah, that's
Franklin,
fair.
you have the last thoughts here, my bro.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Yeah, just that we don't really have that much just like what you said, we don't really have that much consistency in this format. I wanted to bring up some of the Final Fantasy cards because it's what we've been seeing a lot more recently in our morning podcast. The good decks just keep getting gooder. Because like we have a second copy of Shore Up. That's insane. I never thought that would actually ever happen.
Yeah, we're gonna have to save we've already ran really long with this episode, but I definitely will say that stay tuned, guys, for the Final Fantasy cards, because Franklin said it already. We got better cards for more consistency. So, my favorite statement ever: the good decks get gooder.
I don't know how else to say it. Like, sure, there's a proper way to say it, but no, you just dumb it down. It's like good gets gooder.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So,
but yeah, just
keep printing more pingers and.
To back up your point, Rohan,
Cool story.
if you guys are going to be playing online, record your games. Pray to God that the TO actually listens to you and like takes your concerns fucking seriously.
But like, yeah, I mean, I think just move into the acceptance zone. Like, accept.
I mean, that's what that was a big problem during all of 2023 cEDH, right? Everyone was cheating fucking left and right. There was a cheater in every event.
Yeah. And now online tournaments are basically dead, right?
Yeah, like in cPDH, I'm happy that at least they moved away from Moxfield for a bit, and then it's funny seeing people's performance could change when they move to paper because physical cards move fucking differently because they're physical objects.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still very, very possible and not all that difficult to cheat even with paper as long as you're playing online.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the business. Unfortunately, that sucks. That sucks, especially for those. If you're out there and you're listening to this and you're a cheater, you're a dirty cheater, and you're cheating in a no stakes game, or in like you're cheating to win like I don't fucking know, like a $5 foil
Yeah.
uncommon card. Shame.
Oh my
shame,
god! You know
shame
what's
on you.
even funnier?
Get a life.
No, Ron. Let me tell you this. The dude who cheated in the recent like cEDH event, he always posts like the most like expensive cards ever,
Oh yeah.
and he still cheats. I'm like, the fuck are you doing, bro? You can
So-
afford everything.
Bro, this shit is what fucked me up royally, bro. My brain melted, right? Like this player posts like Mercadian Mask foil like Dark Rits and shit.
Yeah.
Like just baller fucking cards, right?
Yeah.
But what they were
Nice.
doing was they were keeping cards here, right? Like right off screen of second copies of those same cards.
Yeah.
Which means they had fucking multiple copies of foil mass dark rits and shit. I'm like,
The fuck do you need
like,
big money
bro.
baller to cheat? Just cheat like a normal
Like,
human being at least.
a normal dark rit's like $4, bro. You bought like a $300 dark rit, like several of them. You bought a set of these fuckers to cheat with. Like, what the fuck? Like, boosh. Like, crazy.
I don't know. Like, the mind of a cheater makes no goddamn sense to me because, like, it's something that we've always discussed. Was like the time and effort you put into cheating can be put into just getting good at the game,
or anything, or probably something that can actually make you money. Like learn how to be a programmer or something. Like use that
Or
much
just
time in your hand.
just play with transformers, right? Transformers are good too, right? Simplicity.
all right?
Don't
Yeah.
pay
So,
attention to those.
all right. So with that, with everyone, I'm gonna put a link to like HasLab so you can spend your money on expensive.
No, don't buy HasLab.
Not
Don't
anymore?
buy HasLab. No.
All right. I'll put
No.
a link to
Hasbro's about to get sued for their most recent HasLab.
All right, fine. I'll put a link to like some expensive third-party kits to upgrade your Transformers.
That's a yes.
All right, and with that, everyone, thank you for joining. See you guys next week. Have fun. Follow us on
Wait,
like all our.
Where can they find us? There you go.
Yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube, that's probably the best way to watch us. We're also on Spotify, TikTok. Maybe I'll start up the Instagram again. I have no clue. But thank you, everyone. Have a great week.
Peace.
Thank you for watching. And if you want to support the channel, please subscribe and join the Discord in our link below. And become a member over on our Patreon.
Shout out to all of our patrons: Eric, Cobraman, Aaron, Dax, Devin, NYC Burrito, Little Rat Lotad, Frank, Scoob, HZ, and Too Much Do. Thank you for all of your support.